It's meme time, it's meme time. Gather all your friends, it's meme time. It's meme time, it's meme time. The only cure for sadness.
So our story continues with Ultra Vegito having just blown up the Pyramid of Power, with Jiren still inside, trapping him for seemingly eternity. While Jiren, with his hands grabbing his skull intensely, panics in confusion and anger, yelling, "Son Goku, you treacherous animal! How? Why would you do this to me? I was on your side. I told you I would help. Why? Why not just kill me? Why trap me to a fate worse than death, Son Goku?" While Ultra Vegito, still outside, then begins to stare into the center of his palm, as if he too cannot believe what evils his own hand was capable of, until finally letting out, "Sorry, Jiren, but in order for you to be of use to me in the final battle, I'm going to need you to become stronger than your wildest dreams. I know you have the potential, but 10 days is far from your true limits, warrior. What I have done will confuse you for some time, but I know firsthand, only with anger and vengeance in one's heart can one truly become powerful. Use your hatred of me to get yourself to the next level, just as I have used my hatred of the gods to skyrocket myself to where I am now. You'll be safe inside there from even the eyes of Zeno and the Grand Priest for now, but not forever. So I'll see you soon, my friend." Revealing to us finally the true intention behind trapping Jiren inside. As finally, in the palm of Vegito's hand, it is also revealed the summoning button that Jiren had given Vegito last chapter. A button that will allow Vegito to call upon Jiren when the time is right, and in the inevitable final battle. With his job done in Universe 11, Vegito then flicks his fingers and instantly mobilizes his angel staff, as he simultaneously thinks introspectively, "Belmod, that crafty clown. How interesting that he was the one behind murdering Jiren's family. But why? Not like I can ask him now. Damn, Jiren was just a little too trigger happy with that Hakai. Must have picked that up from me." But not done yet with his contemplation, Vegito then looks up into the sky and continues, "But I can't help but think there's something more to this story. His last words were, 'Not all is how it may seem.' And to be honest, though I've taken Toppo's destruction energy, it hardly compares to that of a fully fledged destroyer. I want Belmod's energy, and I guess there's only one way to get it now." And with that being said, Ultra Vegito then places his hand out to his right side and instantly opens up yet another portal, letting out, "If the Belmod of this timeline is gone, I'll just find another in a different one. Besides, I need my questions answered." And just like that, Ultra Vegito then slowly enters the portal and finally leaves. Eventually Vegito leaves the portal and lands on the ground with a quiet tap. On the other side, eventually Vegito leaves the portal and lands on the ground with a quiet tap. As he notices, as expected, Vegito, always on guard, immediately begins observing his surroundings as he notices, "Where am I exactly? There doesn't seem to be anything around here but barren soil. Did I arrive too late, perhaps?" But as Vegito then brings himself to walk further along, he eventually reaches the edge of a nearby cliff face. Huh? Now we're talking. Would you look at that? This is where Jiren the Grey was born, huh? As over the cliff face, Vegito and ourselves are treated to a view of a primitive village on the ground, hidden amongst the mounds of dirt and few and far between vegetation. As Vegito continues, "So I am one time. The village is intact, and so are its inhabitants. Now where is that damn clown?" Meanwhile, down in the village, we see a number of adult warriors, each practicing and sparring with another, honing their skills, just as Jiren had described of his village and family back in the Tournament of Power. Yeah! But speaking of Jiren, we eventually do see our first sight of the little fighter, as he extends punches with vigor under the watchful eye of his master, Gichin. Standing tall with his Namekian-like green skin, he raises his arm and shouts enthusiastically to Jiren, "That's the way, young Jiren. Faster and faster. But do not forget to keep your guard up." As the prepubescent youngster looks back with a smile of admiration and responds, "Yes, master. Got it." Ultra Vegito in the meantime watches on with a visible smile and his arms folded, taking in great pleasure at the sight of such a joyful Jiren, commenting, "Oh, look how skinny Jiren used to be. Hard to believe that runt turned into the powerhouse I know now. And I guess that green man is his so-called master, and he can't stop yapping about. I wonder how strong he is." But suddenly, before Vegito can enjoy any more of the scenes down below, Vegito senses the presence of an ominous evil energy and killing intent. Eventually, Vegito then tries to spot where it even is coming from, fearing the worst with who it could be. "What the hell is it? All I see is damn mountains! Ah, there you are!" But eventually up in the sky, Vegito finds out exactly where the strange presence originates. And in the air is of course none other than Lord Belmont, god of Universe 11, cloaked up and hooded as if to hide his identity. Giggling in the air as he says, "So finally, the time has come, young man. Hopefully, you will thank me for this when you're older. But the ritual of the divine starts here. Universe 11 will finally have its next god of destruction to bring our mortal level to the very top. Remember this day well, young Jiren." As Vegito, realizing who the figure is, then grunts out, "Just on time, aren't you, clown? Ritual? What is this makeup-caked freak even saying? Time to get some much-needed answers." As Belmont looks down menacingly and yells out one final time, "Say your last words, Jiren. Godhood awaits you." "He'll be saying goodbye to nobody, clown." Huh? But just as Belmont readied himself to slaughter Jiren's village, as he was supposed to in the original timeline, a rugged voice calls out from behind him. "What on earth? Who could?" And as the panicked god turns his head, 3 familiar fingers with even more familiar rings are already seen perched on his shoulder perfectly. "Who the devil are you?" As shockingly, perhaps not to us though, Ultra Vegito then appears right behind Belmont, with curiously 2 fingers already on his forehead, readying an instant transmission as he lets out, "Let's move a little away from here, shall we, Destroyer? I think you're one clown I don't trust to have around these kids." "Where have you taken me?" As Vegito then moves a short distance away from the village to the surprise of a furry creature watching on from behind. invaders! As we are then treated to an image of a young Topo reacting in pure fear to the sudden arrival of Ultra Vegito and Belmod. Two figures he had not yet met at this point, but because Ultra Vegito had met Topo in the future, he was then able to use instant transmission to travel straight to his location. These guys look like trouble. I must go get Mother. She'll deal with them. She'll deal true justice. As Topo then swiftly escapes with his tail between his legs. Belmod though, who is both outraged and taken aback by this sudden stranger manhandling him, smacks Vegito's grip off himself before jumping back to gain some space. As he lands, he then yells out, "Who the hell are you? Do you have any idea the trouble you've just got yourself into? How dare you touch me with your filthy mortal hands?" While an unfazed and still smirking Vegito looks back, still holding his hand up from where he had grabbed Belmod just moments earlier, and replies, "Mortal? You know, I might have had some trouble figuring out your identity, but with that kind of addressing, you sound awfully like a god. I know that ridiculous paint on your face was a dead giveaway, but you wouldn't happen to be Lord Belmod, God of Destruction of Universe 11, would you?" What? How does this punk know who I am? And that we're in the 11th universe? Only one man here should know anything about that. Leaving Belmod in a slight state of panic, as he reveals at least one in this village would know this kind of information. But done with the games and theatrics, Belmod then opts to remove his now pointless disguise, throwing his robe to his right and saying, "Alright, so you aren't as stupid as you look with that ridiculous hair. So, who are you supposed to be then? A warrior from Gitchin's village? Or just one of his busboys? Though, you do seem a little too skilled for that." But Vegito, now sporting a more serious and focused look, hunches his head forward as he responds quickly, "No! I'm a friend of Jiren's, and I have a question for you, clown, that I was hoping you'd be able to answer for me. I just wanted to know, exactly why are you planning on murdering that young boy's entire village and master before his eyes while leaving him alive?" Huh? What the? The question of course leaves Belmod shocked once more, as he thinks instantly to himself, trying his hardest to not outwardly show it. This can't be! Knowing the face of this universe's god of destruction is one thing, but how could he possibly know the ritual plan? Not even Margarita knows of what I'm doing right now. I knew there was something off about this guy. Why? Why does this freak speak like he knows me so well though? But the clown god soon then changes his look to a fake smile, trying his best to win the mental warfare as he calmly replies, "Haha, I have no idea what you're talking about, mortal. What a strange fantasy for such a lesser being to come up with. I didn't even know your minds could create such stories. But regardless, I will not be questioned by a lowly mortal. Prepare to be erased for wasting my time. Maybe if you can survive this, I might have some answers for you." And following this, continuing his confidence, Belmod then brings out 3 cards, each surrounded in her Kai energy, and much like her leaves with her arrows, these are far more dangerous than they seem. As Belmod lets out, pick a card, any card. One touch of these and you disappear forever, young man. Let's hope for your sake you're good at poker." as instantly Belmont then tosses all 3 cards at once, leaving no angle to dodge whatsoever. Meanwhile though, as come to be expected of Ultra Vegito, he just stares down the attack without fear, just thinking in his head, I guess I can't blame this god for trying. Not like he would know how futile this is. And so, Ultra Vegito remains completely still as the Hakai cards reach within touching distance, despite his earlier experience with such a technique. But at the last second, in a display of perfect mastery of Ultra Instinct within his Ultra form, Vegito, almost in slow motion and with the slightest of movements, dodges every single card with the smallest margins for error, ultimately leading to a massive explosion on both sides of Ultra Vegito that blows wind and debris across the emotionless Vegito, swaying his bangs in all directions as he coldly lets out, "Guess I'm better at card games than I thought, clown." And here I thought, the house always wins. What in the name of Zeno? Preposterous! No mortal from this planet should be able to move like that! Leaving Belmont understandably gobsmacked, witnessing not only a destroyer's attack be dodged like child's play, but also through use of what seems a divine technique of the angels. Continuing his state of shock, Belmont begins uncontrollably stepping back slowly, until suddenly a lone stone on the ground appears right behind his heel unknowingly. Wait, what? Instantly causing the god to trip back and fall, seemingly too scared to even regain himself until... At the last second, a hand we know all too well appears from out of nowhere to grab Belmont by his destroyer garb collar, saying, "Don't worry, I've got you, Ronald McDonald. You're not going anywhere." As soon as the scene zooms out, we see Ultra Vegito, now with half his shirt ripped from the explosions around him, standing dominantly over Belmont, with noticeably his signature Godslayer blade extended outwards, as he stares into the eyes of Belmont and says, "Listen, clown, I know even you're clever enough to know when you're utterly outclassed. Tell me the answers I desire, or die here and now. And trust me, there's no coming back from my idea of a death. You aren't the only one who possesses the power of Hakai." What? This mortal knows the abilities of the destroyers too? Leaving Belmont horrifically cornered, as he can't even call this stranger out on his bluff, given his earlier display of what was obviously Ultra Instinct, leading him to respond back, okay, relax. I'll tell you what you want to know, tough guy. Jeez, it's not like it's a secret anyway. Hardly more of a secret than knowing I'm the god of the 11th universe. Just let go of me, will you? And so Ultra Vegito then obliges, sensing that Belmont is as powerless as any timeline's version of him, as Belmont, now dejected, then calmly sits down with his legs folded before beginning. "Listen, I don't know who you are, but you're right. I did come here to kill off Jiren's village and family. But you should know, it was for good reason. For the good of this entire universe." As Belmont then looks into the distance and continues, "Whoever you are though, it does seem you are familiar of the Destroyers, so I spare the intro to who we are. But we Destroyers, along with another set of gods in this universe, known as the Supreme Kais, maintain the mortal levels of our respective universes. The mortal level of a universe is affected by many variables. Sometimes that level is determined by the number of planets that exist, or the strength of its destroyer. But mainly, it is down to the overall life force and power levels of the beings that occupy it. Supreme Kais create life and watch over it for millennia, but only a destroyer can put the wheels of motion into play to create powerful life forms. But a destroyer can only live so long, and not just any being can become one. A god of destruction must by default be one of the strongest, if not the strongest within one's universe, and must be able to compete with destroyers of other universes too. Not only to raise the mortal level, but to sometimes simply just survive. Destroyers can be pitted up against each other for the enjoyment of the Omni King. The loser can often find their universe erased. But finding such candidates to become one is not easy. So we destroyers have a ritual that we use to create such candidates with overwhelming power, and just enough coldness in their hearts that they could take up the mantle of God of Destruction and perform the heartless tasks that come with the job. Huh? This sounds familiar, like the Tournament of Power. Did Zeno hold similar competitions for the gods also? I remember Whis telling me of 6 universes that were already erased. It couldn't be! But as Vegito momentarily ponders, Belmod recommences. And don't look at me like that, as this ritual is the same one all gods of destruction use. By killing off the family and friends of a candidate while young, we break all the bonds that get in their way. We leave them to grow strong on their own, often seeking power and vengeance to eventually kill whoever slayed their family. Or sometimes they grow strong just from the darkness that fills them afterwards. It's a proven tactic that has worked time and time again, and Jiren undoubtedly would have become unsurmountably powerful by the same mechanic. In fact, it is all foretold already by the Oracle Fish beforehand. Every destroyer has access to one, and is given the prime choice for the next candidate using them. What? But on the instant that Vegito hears this, even the cold Saiyan is taken by surprise, as he continues, "You monsters! You damn gods really had sick enough minds to come up with something that stupid? Nonsense! I don't believe that for a second. There's no way every god does that. Tell me the truth!" But Belmod, who doesn't even show a sign of being unfaithful in his story, just scratches his head with a smile, thinking back as he replies, "Huh? The truth? Look, kid, I'm not lying. This is the route all destroyers take, whether you like it or not. It's been this way since the beginning of time. Even I went through the same exact thing. It wasn't my village though, it was my wife, Harley. Haha, man, I miss that chick. But since you know me by name, I'm going to guess you know the others too. The rat god, Kitela. You know that little annoying midget? He erased a young warrior known as Ganos's entire species while he slept, and then took him in after promising him he'd train him to one day avenge them. He's actually who I was basing my plan off. Then there's Jin, that blockhead with too much power for his own good. Murdered the son of a prodigy known as Gaiba. Cold-blooded thing that honestly birthed a real monster. When the day comes that Gaiba takes up the mantle of destroyer, I don't know if any of the universes will be safe. And then there's even the laziest of us gods, Beerus. That fool just sleeps and sleeps. Last I heard, he's going to get some lackey known as Frieza to destroy the planet of a powerful fighting race, leaving behind one sole survivor, the Prince, who is said to have not only an exceptional power level, but also the darkness in his heart to make a fine destroyer. Wait, what did you just say, clown? But now, things have hit the fan with Belmod's last piece of information, as the once completely oblivious Vegito now realizes everything, as he questions more. Beerus was behind Planet Vegeta's destruction? No! No! It can't be! Instantly causing Vegito to grab onto his skull with both hands as his brain begins to go through a million thoughts and his emotions reach a boiling point that will tip him over in an instant. Vegeta! I was chosen from the very beginning to be the next destroyer! My planet, my father, Beerus is the one who got Frieza to do it? That can't be! Huh? But Belmod, who has no idea why the mystery man before him is acting so erratically, only responds in blissful ignorance. Vegeta? Come to think of it, that might be who he was on about. He said it so long ago. The Oracle Fish told him well in advance. He's a kid though, so I don't know what you're saying about you being chosen. You may be able to Hakai as you say, but that doesn't make you a destroyer, kid. Belmod, still relaxed, thinking he's done nothing wrong, then closes his eyes and smiles, ignorantly persisting. He probably heard it wrong from the fish knowing that fool though. Those Saiyans in his universe are a bunch of tailed dumb apes. Nothing like the sort in Chompa's universe. If it were me, I would have got rid of them instantly long ago regardless. Haha, no universe needs trash like that around. Not a single one of them would ever amount to anything, much less a god. You! Instantly causing Vegito to grit his teeth in anger, looking at Belmod, his veins beginning to bulge as he struggles to control his inner rage and need for violence. The planet itself quaking from this inner battle within until... You, Beerus, and all the gods are the same! None of you can remain! As Vegito's anger inevitably then explodes viciously, causing him to rush in at Belmod like a demon. And in a flash, the fused Saiyan grips Belmod's neck with both arms, immediately choking him as the god can barely say a word. Hey! Cut it out! Stop! But soon, the real reason for grabbing Belmod's throat comes clear and quickly, as Vegito's left arm indiscriminately begins absorbing every cent of energy from the cloud, as Belmod, realizing, squirms one last time. What? Stop! Stop! I told you the truth! I told you everything! But just like in Vegito's timeline, Belmod once again doesn't get the opportunity to finish his final sentence in the living world, as his eyes go completely blank, now energyless, dead, and never to bother the young Jiren in this timeline. And just like that, Vegito coldly drops the dead god straight on the floor without a thought, his head bowed in darkness as he remains deathly silent. It's unclear if his rage has subsided or if he is still battling with himself over what he had just found out. But not even a few seconds later, the emotionally charged Saiyan breaks into tears once again. Tears of what seem like rage, as his teeth remain rubbing over each other, and even the red veins of his eyes begin to spread wildly. But in the end, it all becomes clear, as with a roar that even the Grand Priest and Zeno would hear, Vegito roars at the top of his breath, screaming out the name of the god that ultimately betrayed him. The name of the god he spent 10 years regretting that he had killed, not knowing all along that same god looked on his entire species as disposable. Huh? What is that? What is this dark energy? As from some distance away, the sudden power-up is immediately sensed by Jiren's master, Gichin. Jiren, stand back and go inside. Something bad has arrived, young warrior. As Gichin then places his arm in front of the scared future Pride Trooper, as if implying he will now go face the monster known as Ultra Vegito. So our story continues with Ultra Vegito in a frankly scary state, enraged having just heard the life-changing information from Belmod that explained exactly how Planet Vegeta was destroyed, and crucially, Lord Beerus's supposed involvement. With his body still surrounded in his mysterious black lightning, he grabs his head, complaining in pain as if his anger itself is causing a headache. There's always something with these gods. Not one god can be trusted. I'll get the truth one way or another. Just you wait, Beerus. And with that said, Ultra Vegito then lifts his right arm into the air and using his time rings, immediately opens up a dark and ominous portal to the unknown, looking down on the planet before him and muttering, "This timeline truly is a forsaken one. If not for Jiren now, it is for me. I'll never forget those words, Belmod, not till the day I die. I pray I never return, but at the very least, Jiren will grow up different this time around. Farewell, warrior." But meanwhile, back in the village of the young Jiren, Gichin, his master, remains alert and cautious, as he places his arm in front of the young disciple and lets out, "Jiren, stay here, you hear me? Do not follow me. I will be back soon, but for the safety of everyone here, I need to see what that strange disturbance was." And instantly at speed, the green elderly man shoots off into the sky right towards the unsuspecting Vegito. But as Gichin approaches closer, unsurprisingly, he begins to become alarmed at what he sees, muttering, "What on Doro? What is that in the sky?" As when we look from a different angle, we see exactly what Gichin sees, as it is indeed Ultra Vegito atop a corpse with his latest time portal open right above him. What? But soon, Gichin with his sharp eyesight is able to make out who exactly the deceased figure on the ground is, and as he realizes, he whispers out, "No, it can't be! Lord Belmod!" As on the ground, lifeless and his pupils missing, lays none other than Lord Belmod, former god of destruction of Universe 11, and apparently a good friend at some point of Gichin himself. Gichin moves in closer to verify, completely unfearful of Vegito, thinking to himself, "It's true, Lord Belmod, the god of our universe slain by him." Instantly enraged, Gichin rushes in at Vegito with a fighting style reminiscent of an older Jiren, yelling, "You will not get away with this! Stand right there!" Huh? You're kidding me! But with that loud yell, Vegito finally senses the unexpectedly low power level of Jiren's master rushing towards him. But unlike his first thoughts on seeing the green-skinned warrior, right now, after hearing Belmont's revelation, this couldn't be any more of a worse time to make an introduction. Not in the mood right now, old man! Be gone! As the angered and ticked off Fu Saiyan then nonchalantly swipes his arm, clearly in an effort to immobilize, but not fatal. Regardless though, a powerful wave of air, like a tsunami, soon appears and heads straight for the surprised master. What is that? Before having even a second to dodge though, it strikes head-on to the elderly teacher, sending him flying backwards like a ragdoll. And the distance Gichin travels seems to be far greater than expected, and when he eventually does land flat on his back, it is with enough impact, the solid ground beneath him breaks apart. With his eyes closed, trying to let out the pain, he yells out, but no one is there to hear him. And as he struggles to open one eye, he lets out to his attacker, "I failed you, Lord Belmont. I'm sorry, Jiren." But meanwhile, an oblivious and cold Ultra Vegito, who is still reeling from his mission to gain answers, just looks down at the injured Gichin and says, "So melodramatic. I refuse to believe the so-called master of Jiren could be so weak. Get up and move, or lay down and die. It means nothing to be either way." And with those cold, ambivalent words said, Vegito disappears into the time portal, arriving in an unknown timeline, leaving Gichin behind with no one around to help treat his injuries. "Hold on, Master! I'm coming!" By a stroke of luck, the young Jiren, who couldn't help but do something to help his master, is seen running right towards Gichin, despite his orders. "Master Gichin!" As eventually, the youngster spots his teacher, seemingly just lazing about on the ground. Tears of happiness then begin to overflow from the naive child's face, perhaps even blurring his vision, as with a big smile he yells, "Master, you're here! I knew you'd be okay. I'm sorry for disobeying you, but I had to." But as he finally reaches within touching distance, Jiren finally begins to see clearer, muttering, "Master?" As he then sees tragically that Gichin, even from just the slightest of waves from Ultra Vegito, has died from his injuries, just like he was supposed to in the original timeline. For a moment, the young Jiren, who is unable to comprehend what he is seeing, the first time he is even seeing death, just remains quiet. As he tries to move his body though, the writing becomes clear on the wall. As within Jiren's giant alien-like eyes, the reflection of his dead master finally becomes undoubtable. No! Master! As the young Jiren, now with tears of sadness bursting forth, yells at the top of his voice. Now once again, despite the death of Belmont, alone, and the same need for vengeance in his heart to one day find his master's killer. Just this time, still with the entire village to help him accomplish his mission. But somewhere out in the depths of space, the scene shifts, and the ship that we see floating in the air is undisputably the ship of the Emperor of the Universe. As when we look inside, at the helm, we see Frieza in his first form, standing tall, looking out of his window onto a familiar planet as Zarbon and Dodoria, his two right-hand men, stand right behind him. But soon, a caped foot steps forward towards the door of Frieza's room. And suddenly revealing himself and walking through without fear is none other than King Vegeta. As we finally then realize the scene we are seeing is in the distant past, before the prideful king then yells out, "Frieza! It's over! Your reign of tyranny over my people ends here! We've come to overthrow you once and for all, Frost Demon!" But Frieza, hearing this, just turns around calmly and with a sinister smirk just responds, "How bold of you, King Vegeta. But we? You and who else, my dear monkey? Your army is so petrified that they're blue in the face. Perhaps you should rethink this and head back to your little castle." Causing King Vegeta to immediately turn around to his men, and indeed, though they remain standing there, from the blue hue across their faces, not one of them truly feels brave enough to take on the powerful Frieza before them. Fools! Instantly angering the embarrassed king, who turns back angrily to Frieza, having been proven right, as he grumbles one final time. If these cowards don't have the backbone to stand up to you, then so be it. As the king of all Saiyans, it should be by my power alone that you breathe your final breaths, Frieza. Prepare yourself! As immediately, with as much conviction and ferocity as his future son, King Vegeta launches into the air, his fist cocked back, ready to attack Frieza head on. But unfortunately, just as we watched all those years ago, the king appears like a mere child before the Emperor, as his first punch misses with the slightest of movements from Frieza. My, that almost hit me, Monkey King. Keep on going. I'm sure you'll land at least something. I wouldn't want you to embarrass yourself in front of your own men, would I? Shut it, Frieza! I'm just getting started! As unyieldingly, King Vegeta prepares yet another attack, foolishly increasing his strength, but doing nothing to his speed. But yet again, Frieza with ease just dodges down and escapes, his arms still behind his back as he smiles and laughs. That was even worse than before, monkey. Are you sure you've had your bananas today? Maybe it's about time I fed you something else instead. As King Vegeta, who had happily been on the assault all this time, suddenly finds himself struck with fear as the powerful Frost Demon begins an attack of his own. No! I can take this! What? Who the devil? What the? As simultaneously, Frieza, Zarbon and Dodoria all react in shock, as Vegito suddenly appears to inexplicably save an equally shocked and quite frankly relieved King Vegeta. What? Who are you? Eventually leaving Frieza more angered than shocked as he looks into the eyes of the strange Saiyan-like figure, wondering if he recognizes him from anywhere. Continuing, I've never seen you among the king's elites. Don't tell me you're one of his lowly grunts. How dare you touch me, monkey? You'll die first if you're so eager to cut in line. But Vegito, who seems on the outside calm, but most definitely still enraged on the inside, just remains deathly silent, staring into Frieza's soul as if just to intimidate him. Let go! Let go! Meanwhile, Frieza tries his hardest to struggle and get his fist free from Vegito's grip, but eventually, despite being surprised that he can't break free, he then turns his head rapidly towards his two guards and yells, Dodoria! Zarbon! What the hell are you two imbeciles waiting for? Do something or die later, fools! Yes, my lord! As immediately the two visibly in fear henchmen simultaneously yell out in support, and both then mobilize into their respective fighting positions as if they would do anything to Vegito. It's an insult for those two ugly weaklings to even attempt to attack me. They can die for it. As Vegito then turns his look and aims towards the two elite Frieza soldiers, and with his hand raised, a shining ball of energy begins to appear on the top of his finger. Until suddenly, as fast as a sniper, Vegeta fires off two speedy energy blasts with extreme precision, and even leave the famed Emperor surprised with the outcome. As immediately, we see the brutal impact of Vegito's attack, with both shots firing right through the skulls of the paralyzed in place Dodoria and Zarbon. You, Lord Frieza! And when the angle changes, we are treated finally to the gruesome sight of both Zarbon and Dodoria, with what can only be described as bullet holes right through their foreheads, as rivers of blood drain down their stunned but lifeless faces, eventually both landing on their knees hard, until eventually smashing on the floor face first, now deceased and silent. There's no way! Leaving Frieza now shell-shocked at what he had just seen, from a Saiyan no less, as his whole body begins to uncontrollably shake in his first experience of fear in decades. What power? Who is this? While King Vegeta, knowing that the stranger had protected him and was somewhat on his side, stands shocked but more impressed than anything, knowing firsthand just how powerful both Dodoria and Zarbon were. Vegito, who couldn't care less though about his latest two victims, then finally turns back to Frieza and says, "Listen up, Frieza! That was just a taste of my power. I know full well those two lugnuts were the strongest of your men, and I assure you, they won't be the only two casualties if you don't start answering my damn questions." What? Answer your questions? This manner of speaking though, from the stranger who just murdered his own men, instantly triggers the tyrant though, as an angry Frieza responds, "Do you have any idea who you're talking to, monkey? You will die before I answer anything! Ha!" As with his teeth gritted in rage, and with his spare arm, he attempts to finally launch a fruitless attack at the Divine Saiyan. You're going to regret that, Frieza! Did he just... As Vegito, with a near empty expression, as if he just cut through butter with a knife, swipes his arm in a flash, and instantly dismembers the arm of Frieza in an ironic and cold callback to what the Emperor would have gone on to do to Nail. Ah! My arm! What have you done? Leaving Frieza to quite rightly scream in pain as he permanently loses one of his limbs, and seemingly so easily to one of the so-called monkeys he was about to eradicate. King Vegeta, meanwhile, just stands still, infatuated with the scene of his glorified slave driver completely defeated, bleeding profusely at the hands of a completely random warrior, as he thinks internally, "This man, he is no ordinary fighter. Who is he? Is he truly this much stronger than even Frieza? And is Saiyan? No, it couldn't be." Frieza, now having lost a good chunk of blood and coming to terms with the pain of Vegito's attack, then falls to the ground, his knees bent but not touching the floor as he's held still tightly by Vegito's unyielding grip. But the Saiyan, continuing his serious look, lets out, "Still think it's a good idea to not answer me? Feel free to try again. I don't mind leaving you one leg too." "What? Okay, fine, I bend. What the hell do you want to know from me?" As this last threat then abruptly causes Frieza to change his tune and agree to Vegito's requests, as Vegito smirks and says, "Now that's a good boy. Gotta say, there's something extremely satisfying about seeing you in this position for once, Frieza." With his tone changed, Vegito then gets down to business and asks, "Tell me, Frieza, tell me the real reason you're staring out your window at planet Vegeta. Tell me the reason you plan on destroying it today along with all the Saiyans. Was it Beerus? Was the god of destruction of this universe the one who gave you this order?" Huh? How could he know that? Frieza, hearing this, is left gobsmacked, almost to the point he forgets about the pain from his severed arm, as he thinks to himself, "This is preposterous. This damn monkey couldn't possibly have heard my conversations with Beerus. Was he among my ranks this entire time?" "What? Beerus?" While King Vegeta has a completely different reaction, as he thinks back to his own experiences with Lord Beerus, catering to his every beck and call, being even more of a slave to him than to Frieza, as he continues, "That monster was working with Frieza this whole time? But why? He told me he would spare us if I obeyed him. I'll feel so foolish if this is true." But Frieza, knowing that his orders from Beerus regarding the ritual were to be top secret and not to be shared at risk of his own erasure at the hands of a god, just quickly manages to regain his composure and spouts out instead, "The god of destruction? What are you talking about? What business would a destroyer have with the likes of me, let alone caring about a planet of lowly apes? I simply wanted these ticking time bombs gone. As you can see from their rambunctious king over there, they were always prone to rebellion. It was a matter of time, and not one I wanted to wait on within my own army. Especially with the rumor going about that one day a so-called Super Saiyan would appear. Of course, if that happened, that would pose all kinds of problems for myself. So I decided to get rid of them all here and now. If you hadn't stopped my punch, he'd be dead already. That is the truth of the situation. Happy now, monkey?" "The truth? That's what you call the truth, Frieza? I warned you." As Vegito, hearing this, becomes wide-eyed, as the entire ship itself begins to vibrate under his rising frustration until... As Vegito, without a second's thought and with true intention on his face, slams his fist into Frieza's skull as hard as possible, leaving the Emperor not only bloodied up, but with his teeth now missing and flying out as he yells once more in complete agony, only able to mutter, "Why? I told you! I promise!" But now angrier than ever at Frieza's insolence, even in this situation, the Saiyan yells, "I said the truth, Frieza! This is your final chance! One more lie, and I send you to the next dimension! You know as well as I do, you don't give a damn about the legend of the Super Saiyan! You don't believe it for a second, and even if you did, tell me why you would so conveniently plan on letting Prince Vegeta, a Saiyan with one of the highest power levels at birth, survive? And why do you even plan on keeping him within your army to grow even stronger? Does that sound like it makes any sense to you, Frieza? Just try and deny what I've said, and I'll make sure you die a death far worse than Beerus could ever give you. Stop! Frieza, though, in fear at this point, places his bloody half-arm out in a futile effort to cover himself, before conceding further. "Okay, it's true! It's true! I'll tell you the truth! This is pointless, and it seems you know everything already." And for a little while, there is silence on board the Frieza ship, until finally, Frieza begins the real explanation. Looking to the ground, as if trying to recount hidden memories, the Emperor lets out, "Yes, it is as you said. Beerus the Destroyer, the most powerful being in this universe, a god, demanded the destruction of planet Vegeta, one of my own enslaved planets that proved profitable time and time again with those battle-hungry monkeys working for me. Of course, I couldn't say no, but it was supposed to be his job, yet he forced me to do it, a favor I had to do in exchange for him letting me continue my affairs, some of which was destroying planets myself, an act destroyers apparently can sometimes see as encroaching on their turf. But it's true, for whatever reason, he asked me to spare the prince before I destroyed planet Vegeta. So I sent that twerp and his weakling men off on a mission not too long ago in preparation for this day. I was told to raise him and hone his battle skills. I didn't get it at first, since the monkey would hardly ever even reach the level of my Ginyu Force, let alone become a challenge for Beerus. But I did it anyway. After all, there's not much else I could say, but yes to that damn destroyer. And that's really all I know. In response, a look of gloom then strikes the king's face, as his earlier fears become confirmed, thinking to himself, "What? Vegeta? What business would Lord Beerus want with him? What is the meaning of this?" But meanwhile, Vegeta remains in silence, with a surprisingly more calm look, as if he was expecting the reply and now was just absorbing it mentally until he finally says, "I knew it. Thank you, Frieza." And with that said, Vegeta then politely lets go of Frieza's one remaining fist, leading to the Emperor yelling ecstatically, "Ah, finally!" But just as Frieza finishes, Vegito silently changes his hand position to that of a flat palm in front of the confused Frieza, who mutters, "Huh? Monkey? What are you doing?" "Okay!" as instantly, in a cold move expected of the God Killer, with fury in his heart, Vegito shouts out at the top of his lungs, ironically the signature move of Beerus himself, erasing the downright confused Frieza on the spot, and almost instantly, so fast, the Dark Emperor couldn't even move an inch or say a word. Until in the end, before Vegito and the shocked King Vegeta in the background is just the dusty, final remnants of Lord Frieza, who in this timeline will never be revived again.
What? Frieza! He defeated him?
Leaving the king truly wondering if he was dreaming or if this was really reality. So our story continues with Ultra Vegito staring in deep thought at the space that once occupied Frieza, the Emperor of Universe 7, just after erasing him from existence. Now in his place are just the final fragments of dust that once made up the Frost Demon of the Namek Saga. But also standing watching the same spot is the nothing short of stunned and speechless King Vegeta, who can only think to himself,
Frieza! He's gone! This isn't a dream! We're free! We're finally free!
But soon enough, his attention is turned to the strange assailant in the room with him, who he can only assume is on his side as he asks,
Young warrior, you've managed to do what our people have dreamed of doing for decades. Tell me, who are you? Are you one of my men? I can't help but feel I've seen you somewhere.
But Vegito, who almost channels the Vegeta side of himself, quickly turns his head and quips back,
No, I'm not one of your men. But I guess I'm a Saiyan. A Saiyan you sent off to an innocent planet to take over. And I'm also the Saiyan that just saved your entire planet from being wiped off the face of the universe. So I'd say, you owe me a little favor.
The king, hearing this, is more than thrilled. His suspicions over Frieza's killer being a Saiyan finally confirmed as he roars back ecstatically,
I knew it! Of course power like that had to come from our elite warrior race. And yes, you have saved us, my young friend. I am completely indebted to you. You must know just how long we have been utterly enslaved by that monster. First by King Cold, and then by his even worse son. Name your prize, Saiyan. Any planet you desire will be yours to rule over. Their women, all yours to do as you please.
But instantly on hearing this, an angry scowl appears across the face of Vegito, thoroughly unimpressed with the king's response as he replies,
Listen, old man, if I wanted a planet, do you really think I'd need a weakling like you to get it? What makes you think you can just turn up at any planet uninvited and take it for yourselves? How does that make you any different from this monster you called Frieza? You may be mortal, but you're just as bad as the gods. The gods?
Which immediately leaves the king once again stunned in fear, as he too senses the change in atmosphere but doesn't quite realize what he had said wrong. After all, weren't all Saiyans at this time bloodthirsty warriors and planet conquerors? But it's not long before Vegito then goes on to coldly explain what he truly desires, saying,
What I want? No. What I command you to do is never set foot on another planet again. days of plundering and stealing other planets is over. Frieza's tyranny has ended, and so you have no reason anymore. Being a warrior race is no excuse. Get rid of your damn tales that make you lose control in the moonlight and stick to yourselves from now on. Fight for good. Defend the weak who can't protect themselves from the likes of Frieza. Break the cycle. Don't exploit them the same way he did to you. What? That's absurd!
Of course, immediately after hearing this, the king can barely even believe what he just heard, and from a fellow Saiyan no less, as he responds back,
What do you mean, remove our tails? Are you sure you're a Saiyan? That is the source of our power. For millennia, we have had them. We have these specifically for taking over planets. No population alive can handle us once we transform. We may not have Frieza forcing us anymore, but traveling to other planets to take them over is how we survive.
His face then changes to one of confusion as he continues,
Young man, you do know our very planet itself, now called Vegeta, was once called Planet Plant until we came. Planetary takeover is steeped in the Saiyan way. I'm afraid I cannot honor your request. I will not give up the power or the tradition of my people.
But Vegito, hearing this, is completely unwavered in his demands, saying,
Yes, I know that already, King. After you fools destroyed planet Sadala. And how exactly did you do that? By transforming en masse to those Uzaru beasts, destroying the very planet that was your own. Huh? Sadala? How would you know about that? Only the Saiyan elites should know that information!
But while King Vegeta remains surprised, Vegito turns around quickly and continues,
But fine, if you're so adamant on not changing, then I guess there's no hope for you or the rest of your people. If power is what you seek, then allow me to show you what true power is! Huh? Oh, wait! Stop!
as Vegito then callously brings a flat palm towards the king's face, in almost an identical way to how he did to Frieza moments earlier, just before erasing him forever.
What is...
But instantly, within the mind of King Vegeta, we then see what Vegito was truly doing, as rushing through in an instant are the memories and knowledge of each of the Super Saiyan forms, from Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, God, and then finally Blue. Abruptly, King Vegeta then drops to his knees.
That was the true power of the Saiyans? That is what we are capable of?
Leaving the Royal Saiyan wide-eyed and in complete disbelief as his body begins to profusely sweat as he takes in the massive information Vegito had just imparted into him. Vegito, though, now done with what he wanted to do, walks away as he places 2 fingers on his forehead, readying his instant transmission, until he finally lets out one final command to Vegeta.
Remember what I said, old man. I'll be sure to check in on you one day. But one more thing before I go. In around 40 years from now, Beerus will be back, and he'll be looking for a Super Saiyan God. Don't you dare let him walk all over you again. Use what I showed you to full effect, or you will regret it.
And just like that, then vanishes. Before then eventually reappearing outside the ship, back in space, curiously with his hand out, ready to stop a certain speeding Saiyan spaceball. Ouch! But once the space pod reaches a complete halt on the palm of Vegito's hand, we can see exactly who is inside. And it is none other than the young Kakarot, otherwise known as our hero Goku, who had just been sent off to Earth by his parents in hopes of saving his life. Who are you? Dad? The young Saiyan, who still has tears on his eyes from his premature goodbye to his family, just wonders who the strange red-tinted character he can see outside the thick crimson glass of the pod is. But Vegito, looking down with a smile, recognizing himself, just says assuringly,
Oh, Kakarot, you didn't change much at all when you grew up, did you? It's like looking at Goten all over again. Sit tight, little one. This time, you won't need to bump your head.
And just like that, Vegito vanishes once again. Then appearing finally back on the ground of what is presumably planet Vegeta, as two somewhat familiar figures watch on from afar, as one of them says, "Hey, Bardock, look over there." As we finally then see who the duo are, as they are revealed of course to be Bardock and Gine, the mother and father of Goku, as pure confusion comes over their faces as they see their son, who they just sent off, seemingly back now with a strange, topless older man, leaving Bardock to question,
Huh? Kakarot? What the hell is going on here, Gine?
I don't know.
Huh?
Vegito, though, is left equally confused at who the two Saiyans looking at him are, thinking,
Who are they? Wait, that man! Isn't that Kakarot's?
Before eventually, a smile comes across the Fused Saiyan's face when he finally realizes the unmistakable resemblance between Bardock and Goku, as he lets out,
Look at that hair! That's Kakarot all over! So that's my mother. Go figure. She reminds me of Chi-Chi. Hey! You there!
But with their identities figured out, the confident Vegito then quickly and without warning shouts out to them, while at the same time opening up a new time portal. And as Vegito leaves, with comedically just half his body sticking out, and with a big grin, he says,
Just to let you two know, Frieza is dead, and your planet is safe. Young Kakarot doesn't need to be sent off. Take care of him, okay? He's going to be a real surprise. A heck of a lot more than Raditz, at least. Goodbye, Mother, Father.
Before finally then leaving. But of course, that final line leaves the young mother more confused than anything now, as she's left muttering to her husband, Bardock, did he just call us mother and father? But meanwhile, back with Vegito, a time portal opens in yet another unknown timeline, and the Saiyan softly steps out with a thud. As he looks around, we see he's on a crumbled and battle-scorched ground, white familiar tiles with clouds nearby. And as the scene zooms out, we finally observe that Vegito is back on Earth, standing on a Kami's lookout that has seen better days. Vegito looks around carefully, but notices something is definitely off, letting out,
It looks like the time rings took me exactly where I wanted. This has to be the universe I left Goku and Vegeta to battle Beerus in. Looks like the Earth is still intact, so at least there's that. Then surely, that means that they found a way to win. They must have underestimated how strong those two became training with me. But if that's the case, where are they then? We don't even sense Dende or Popo.
Vegito, still wondering, then walks down slowly over to the edge of the lookout, looking down onto the Earth, before he then closes his eyes and begins trying to sense the presence of either of the two Saiyans. It takes him a while, but eventually he realizes...
No! There's nothing.
Vegito, now forlorn and filled with a feeling of regret, realizes that neither Goku nor Vegeta's energies remain anymore on Earth, and realizing this, sulks internally.
They aren't on this plane anymore. I was foolish to believe they were ready for him, but I needed to get back to my mission. Beerus must have destroyed them in the end, but I don't understand. Why is Earth still here? Will this planet be saved by those two freaks in every timeline just for its food? I wouldn't put it past them. But whatever happened to Gogeta, I guess that'll just be one more question I ask Beerus about.
With that said, Vegeta then places two fingers on his forehead and looks to his right, trying to lock on to a certain deity, whispering,
"I'm coming for you, Beerus."
Before then immediately vanishing once more to a location we can all guess. Eventually arriving on a familiar divine planet with an even more familiar set of legs and dress standing in front. Huh? And who just might you be? As is revealed, of course, to be the angel attendant of Universe 7, Whis. But not soon after questioning Vegito, the angel in all his wisdom begins to put things together and thinks inside. Wait a minute. A mortal knowing the location of the gods. And there's no doubt he seems a Saiyan in stature. Could this be? But the impatient Vegito, who hasn't got time to be waiting for Whis' approval, just yells out commandingly,
"Whis! Cut it out with that silent treatment. I'll tell you who I am in due time, my friend. But first, you tell me where your damn destroyer is. I have a bone to pick with that cat, especially after what you two did to Son Goku and Vegeta."
Ah, I remember now. You're the one who was with Gogeta-san when we first arrived on Earth, aren't you? Of course you are. Look at those time rings on your right hand, and even those angel-grade Potara too. Curious. But I'm glad you've come, because I'm sure the god of destruction of this universe would like to have a word with you too. He should be ready just about now. And just like that, Whis then taps the end of his staff into the ground, in a similar fashion to how he would normally reverse time. But instead, this time, immediately, the Pyramid of Power is summoned right before Whis and Vegito. Its door closed, but clearly a menacing energy already begins to emanate from it. The door then slowly opens, and a figure shrouded in what seems dark electricity comes out, but it's too far for our eyes to decipher whether it is truly Beerus until...
Was that 40 years already, Whis? I guess now that I can't age anymore, time will never feel the same, will it?
As suddenly, it is revealed to be an Ultra Gogeta that walks out confidently, covered in the dark, ominous electricity we once thought was synonymous with only Vegito. And most notably, around his chest is the garb of the gods. moments, God of Destruction, Ultra Gogeta has arrived on the battlefield.
What? Who is that? It's like looking into a mirror. No, wait. That couldn't be them, could it?
While Gogeta just smirks at his old training partner and replies,
Oh, it's me, Vegito. Just a little different. You know, just stronger than you now.
Vegito quickly though manages to calm himself, now more bewildered by Gogeta's appearance rather than his energy, as he asks,
Well, that misplaced confidence definitely tells me this is you alright, Gogeta. But what's with the new look? Trying to copy my style? I miss the old you. That red hair and fur was starting to grow on me, you know.
But Gogeta, who is seemingly very much enjoying the interaction, just folds his arms and replies,
Me overconfident? I must have picked that up from you. But then again, I'm not the same man you trained with earlier, and I'm nowhere near as naive. Can you really not figure out why I look this way now? For 40 years now, I've been training, both separately and together, Goku and Vegeta. Now that I have risen to the rank of God of Destruction, I no longer age. I can train for as long as I want and as much as I want. A Saiyan's dream, you could say. And in that time, we mastered all the same forms you showed us in the hyperbolic time chamber. From God to even Blue and further beyond.
Hearing this, Vegeta appears almost impressed, closing his eyes with a smile and replying,
Oh, so you did defeat that damn cat after all. What a shame. I had some business with him. But I guess it's no surprise when you managed to master the God forms, and on your own no less. You have no idea the kind of hurdles we had to go through to do the same. Kakarot needed 5 other Saiyans for God's sake.
Well, for starters, he wasn't on his own. And what business do you have with me, Saiyan?
That voice!
As suddenly, a powerfully deep voice from behind Gogeta calls out, instantly triggering something deep inside Vegito. As he looks beyond Gogeta and yells out,
Who was that? Show yourself now!
My. Now that is no way to talk to a former god. As shockingly, behind Gogeta is in fact revealed Beerus, still alive and surprisingly also coated in the same ominous black lightning of Gogeta and Vegito. As Gogeta, smirking and looking to his apparent training partner, then says,
Nice entrance, Lord Beerus, but I was hoping to surprise him later. He seems to be under the impression I defeated you. That would have been fun, wouldn't it?
Not even in your dreams, kid. But Vegito, meanwhile, is far from being in the same jovial mood as the other two gods, as instantly he swings his arms back and readies himself to attack, yelling,
Beerus! You're still alive! Perfect! Now it's time you told me the truth! And don't worry, this time I'll mean it when I kill you! Looks like you haven't changed a bit, Vegito.
As suddenly, in a shock twist, Ultra Gogeta then appears instead right in front of the shocked Vegito, intercepting him from getting any closer to the former destroyer, as he says,
And just what are you trying to do now, Vegito? I don't think me and you are done with our reunion yet. What are you doing?
Leaving Vegito not only angered, but also puzzled as to Gogeta's confidence to get in his way. As he responds,
Get out of my way, Gogeta! I don't want to hurt you, but you know I will if I have to. You're protecting the wrong guy here! Remember who I am! That monster has done more to you than you know! If you give me a second, I'll make him admit it in front of you.
This comment from Vegito, though, seemingly sparks the interest of Gogeta. He replies, but it's not quite clear if he's being sarcastic or not, saying,
Really? Lord Beerus a monster? Tell me more, why don't you? And then maybe I'll think about letting you attack my teacher. Fine!
And Vegito, hearing this, then lifts his arm ecstatically and indeed begins explaining the truth of Beerus, saying,
Let's start off with teacher. What a lie that was. Would a teacher be the one responsible for the complete annihilation of your home planet and species? Yes, that wasn't just Frieza, but instead Beerus himself who gave him the go-ahead. He's the one who commanded Planet Vegeta's destruction. And the worst part about it, it was just so you could become what you are now. So you could become the damn next god of destruction. I don't blame you, as you didn't know, but you've played right into his trap. Do you understand?
And for a moment, there is silence as Gogeta takes on the information until...
Oh man, you're great! You really are too good at making these fictional stories up. Oh, Vegito. Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me twice, shame on me. And I'm not falling for this bullcrap anymore.
And with a stark change in expression, Gogeta then goes on with a serious look.
Isn't it funny how you now call him Beerus? What happened to that other lie you told me about him being called Monarcha? Remember that, Vegito? How he was a demon who destroyed your version of Earth in your timeline. You know, when I told Beerus about that, he actually gave me the pleasure of meeting the real Monarcha in person. What a nice guy he truly was. As you can imagine, after that, things didn't quite add up in the story you told me. Got anything to say about that, friend?
But Vegito, hearing how he had just been caught out over his lies, instantly looks dejected, defeated mentally before anything as he looks at the ground with gritted teeth and just grumbles,
Damn it! I know it looks bad, but that's not what I meant! I can explain, Gogeta!
Before any more can be said, Gogeta suddenly powers up, his full power on display within his Ultra form, as he steps into the iconic fighting position of Son Goku himself, yelling out,
No explanation needed right now. You're a Saiyan, right? So we'll talk this out the only way we Saiyans know how. With our fists. Sound good to you, Vegito? What power! This is just like mine!
Vegito, reacting to Gogeta's power-up, initially can only cover up his face from the pushback of the Saiyan's energy. But within seconds, the Primal Saiyan's battle urge awakens in Vegito, as a smirk is revealed once he brings his arm down, until suddenly, Vegito 2 in unison, then immediately transforms into his Ultra form. His body surrounded in a thunderous aura, now poignantly in the signature battle stance of Vegeta. And with a smirk on his face, he lets out finally...
You know, you might be just one god I feel bad for killing. So be it, Gogeta. Show me what you can do.
L is for lovers who love one another. A is for ass, of which I like to eat. U is for you're the only one for me. G is for the only gamer I see. H is for happy, I'm always feeling. When you put them together, what do you get? Put them together, what do you get? What do you get?